Hi, welcome to The Tackle. I'm Joel Gelding, Fremantle Dockers supporter since 2013. On the bandwagon, Shawnee.
You were a Crow supporter, or you are a Crow supporter. What is going on with this scarf?
5 wins after 12 rounds, so...
That's what's going on.
Oh, it just doesn't feel right. Get this off me. I might jump on the bandwagon, though, because your boys are looking really good. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, big news yesterday in the AFL world. Mark Neild is gone.
Yes, it surprised everyone that they never knocked him off 2 weeks ago when they had a board meeting, to be perfectly honest. Melbourne have struggled ever since he's taken over. They've been getting their backsides kicked by big margins, and it's fair to say the players are not playing for him.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it. I really do. Whilst they have not won games, you can see teams growing. GWS, you can see the Gold Coast growing.
They're showing glimpses, aren't they?
They are. Melbourne, no. They've had more draft picks than you poke a stick at over the last 4 or 5 years. They've been horrendous. They've drafted a lot of used players this year. Nothing's worked for them. I know they've had injuries, but at the same time, so has a lot of other teams.
Yeah.
Fremantle this year, West Coast Eagles last year, and they've been able to get the job done. I can't see the players... I can't see that they've bought into this coach whatsoever. It's about time. They need to move forward.
And there's just been stories getting around that they were just waiting those extra couple of weeks to get the finances off the AFL to pay him out because they don't have any money. So that's starting to look like the truth. And, of course, Neil Craig takes over. He had a bit of success with the Crows when he first took over after Gary Ayres got the sack. Yep. He had enormous success with the Crows, so maybe Melbourne can turn it around with a new guy. Yeah,
well, the Nutty Professor takes over, as you say. He was offered the job at the West Coast Eagles, in fact, and he knocked that back to take up his position at the Crows. So he's got a great credentials. He's been successful in the past, so why can't he be in the future?
Which brings us to game one that we're going to have a look at. The 3 big moments from the round just gone. Hawthorn-Carlton, Friday night footy. Oh. I really enjoyed this game. The Blues, I think, showed a lot better form than what we expected. A lot of people thought Hawthorn were going to probably give him a 40-point plus belt up, Shawnee.
Yeah, well, Mark Murphy got injured for Carlton at just the wrong time. Again, they've gone down in the last quarter. Last week we saw them get overrun by Essendon, which was a killer for me in my tipping. Hawthorn were always going to be too good. Carlton, I don't know where the season's at, Joel. I don't think they can come back from here.
And Mick Malthouse looks incredibly grumpy as usual. I'll bring up a quick stat before we throw to a clip. This is the Hawthorn Hawks' 10th win in a row for the first time since 1975.
Well, last year they were favourites to win the grand final. Got to it. They were favourites on the day. Sydney rolled them. Will it happen again?
It's all good to win 10 in a row, but again, they hold the cup up at the end of the year. Let's have a look at some Buddy Franklin magic from Friday night.
Lewis controlled it. Franklin, yes, Buddy kicks the goal. Hawthorn gets some breathing space.
Which brings us to game number 2, Adelaide Crows versus Richmond Tigers. Shawnee, the Tigers are finally starting to win the games that people are expecting them to, and I guess their fans have finally got something to cheer about.
Yeah, huge supporter base. Richmond, the AFL will be rubbing their hands together to think that the Richmond fans are back on the wagon watching their team win. I thought Adelaide, there could have been a comeback at some stage. I reckon it was in the third quarter. There was a terrible kick across goals, and Rewalt got the free kick and kicked the goal just to edge out any turn of momentum there. But Richmond are going well. Adelaide on vice versa, heading down south. They're heading down the ladder.
I don't know what really to discuss about that. They just look terrible. Injuries and that, they're just small excuses, I think. They just don't want to win. Have a look at this. I reckon this is a contender for one of the goals of the year so far. Shaun Griggs for the Tigers.
Talia, front spot. Flick down. Oh, Griggs! Can you believe it?
Things like Greg did here. Great punch by Otten and a drop kick by Greg on the left foot. Bang!
Which brings us to our final game, Fremantle Dockers versus the Brisbane Lions. Now, whilst this I don't think was expected to be a really amazing clash, we actually saw some pretty good footy from the Dockers who, whilst they were sort of tinkering with the small win, all of a sudden it blew out to 40 points.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was that out to 46 before they kicked a goal on the siren. There was patches of play that were very encouraging from Fremantle's point of view. I think for the most part, watching the game, it would put you to sleep, to be perfectly honest. But our coach, Ross Lyon does not care.
Yeah, our coach. You're still doing it.
Ross does not care. He thinks 4 points, 4 points. I don't care how we get them, although he wants us, the club to improve constantly. It's another win, heading in the right direction, and hopefully a top 4 finish at the end of the year, mate.
With all the injuries, they continue to win, and Brisbane aren't the worst team in the comp, and they beat them by 40 points at home. So your boys are looking good, Shawnee. It should put you in a very, very good mood. Let's take a look at some David Mundy magic. He's kicked a couple of really good goals. Have a look at this.
Here's Mundy again, boys. Run forward on Rich.
And he held his ground. So it's taken almost 15 minutes, but the Dockers have their first goal for the second half. Mundy again, same spot, same result. 2 in a row for him, 2 perfect kicks, 2 perfect finishes, and it's the biggest lead of the game so far.
To finish things off for the tackle, as usual, let's have a look at the top 5 Dream Team points, and no surprises with a few of the big superstars of the competition in this week, Shawnee.
Yeah, Brendan Goddard, top of the pops this week. I don't think he's been there in the last few weeks, to be honest. Essendon paid a lot of money for him, so he was our number 1 ranked player. Dane Swan, Scott Pendlebury, they were terrific against the Western Bulldogs, mate. You might have had them in there, but Gary Ablett continues to be in the top 5. Have you got him as captain every single week?
I haven't changed him once as captain. You can't. I did warn this earlier in the year. You cannot change him as captain. I think the Bombers are looking really good with Goddard. I think that was a really good pickup from them. But have a look at who's in at number 5, Brett Delidio. I think if Brenton Sanderson wanted his time back from the weekend, he would probably put 8 players on him instead of letting him run around on his own. No one tagged him.
Everybody tags him. Everybody tags him and Cochin. He's too good.
Is that a rookie coach mistake?
That's a rookie coach mistake.
That's the biggest stuff up. Probably you can't put many of those decisions behind Mark Neild. I think he's still at the top, even though he's been sacked. We'll give him one more flick as we finish off the tackle. That's it for us. We'll see you next week. Nova.